Hey, you guys, happy Tuesday. I'm Trisha Turner. This is Walk Away Wealthy, formerly Anything But Average. Purpose of this podcast, got to speak here, which is every week, Tuesday at 12 o'clock, is to bring you positivity, to bring you ways to grow your business and improve your life. Today, I got a really cool story for you. And, God works in mysterious ways. And if you've been following us and paying attention to this, we've been running this podcast for over 2 years now, all through COVID, barely missing a Tuesday. And we've heard story after story about people growing their businesses and changing lives. But this is one that God has clearly got his hand on. He's orchestrated this entire thing from the moment I met who you're about to meet to the property that we're on to just 2 weeks ago. So I want you guys to hear from Ron Peters, who is part of the foundation nonprofit called Katie Responds. And Ron, I kind of want you to give a little bit of the backstory about Katie Responds so people can understand like where we are in the world and how long Katie Responds has been doing what you guys do and what your mission is. And then we're going to go into really your calling and your purpose.
Yeah, so Katie Responds is a rebuild agency that was put together, formulated by several churches in the Katy and surrounding area, basically Katy ISD area, and we were formulated in 2018 as a nonprofit to go out and fundraise and do rebuild for homes affected by Harvey. It was really our initial foray into the disaster world. We were supported by Houston Response. We're not part of them, other than just part of. We're just a response agency that they helped guide into existence. And Katie Response became our own 501c3 back in 2018. And again, just to do Hurricane Harvey restoration for folks that, we had so many people in our community that were affected by Harvey that were unable to get any restoration. We had a lot of people that had, some damage, but were able to afford to restore their homes. Very few folks had flood insurance. Those that did benefited for sure, but the reality is there was this marginalized group of families. Honestly, a lot of single moms, a lot of widows, folks that just didn't have the hands that could go and do the work, and that's what Katie Responds was there to do. They went out and fundraised for specific houses, and then we'd go in and fix them.
Prior to this, had you been involved in any kind of restoration project, any kind of mission work like this, anything like that?
Trisha, I ran. I was like, don't choose me, God. I don't want. I remember the day of the storm, Harvey, and I was sitting at the window in the house that you now own. I was sitting there, and I'm like, I was considering going into the construction world from my youth when I was there. And I was like, there's no way. I want so much not to be a part of Harvey restoration. And I literally told God, I said, I laughed. I turned to Jody and I said, we're not gonna do it. Jody's my wife, by the way. And so 2 years later, I couldn't fight him off.
So what was the calling? Now, you guys, I want y'all to understand something too. So when he said the property that he used to own that I own now, that's how this all began. And so we just closed on it in June of this year, so 2022. Prior to that, I did not know them at all. And so in this short amount of time, in our company, we believe in tithing, we believe in God, and we live by that. And so tithing is, the Bible says 10% of your income. Well, we in our company tithe on our sales, not on our income, because we have profit margins and such. And so to make a long story short, some months are better than others. Naturally, we're in real estate. And so I've always been that way for years. And this year, and I don't know if it was it's him, but it correlated with meeting Ron and Jody. It was like I wanted to get more involved in something rather than just tithing. I wanted to be able to help like single moms and veterans. I wanted to be able to see like where is it really going? Like how can we be how can we make a difference and be involved in their lives, like to see them happy. And it's just there's so much out there that we could be doing. We should be more involved. And so I was seeking, ask and you shall find. I was seeking something that we could be part of. And I talked to my CPA about it. And he's like, you can't just give money to people because you can't write that off. And he was like, you can form your own nonprofit, but that's going to be super complicated. And you're already too busy and you can't do that. And you can just continue giving to the church. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. There has to be a way. I swear, within that same week, I usually am at Lakewood Church, but I missed church that day because Josh's little baby wasn't ready to go. So we were watching it at home on TV, and there was Ron and his wife Jody on the screen at Lakewood talking about Katie Responds, and I was like, "Holy crap! What is this? I don't even know about Katie Responds, and it's in our own backyard." And I texted his wife right there while they were still there, and I'm like, "I want to get involved in this. We need to learn more about this." And I just met with them like 2 weeks ago, and we're going to get very involved. We're going to partner up with them, and we're going to be super involved. But Ron, I want you to share a lot of what you shared with me that Saturday afternoon about why, like, what have you given up? And you guys, he doesn't want any recognition for this whatsoever. He is literally doing this for because he's being called to do it. It's his purpose and to help to help humans. So Ron, can you kind of share what we're doing together, what you're doing, and why you're doing this?
So and again, I don't want to make it about me, but it is about God's plan for us. And I think there are times when you have to celebrate what he does in your life. Jody and I, like after that little experience, looking out the window at Harvey, we were put in a position where a couple years later that it would probably be, it was time for us to maybe turn back and try something different. So we opened up a venue in our backyard. We began remodeling a barn that we had on our property, and then I started doing some construction, some kitchen remodels. And I was not in that world. I was in the industrial marketplace for a long time, for 20 years. And but Jody and I like the space of the property, and just the freedom of that. But in order to fund and keep the property, we had to do something other than just a little bit of construction here and there. So we opened up the rental venue, which you ended up renting, that's how we connected. Which is still, to me, it's like God's hands all over this.
Totally.
But at any rate, so when my church, Waypoint Church, was doing, or at that point it was Bethel Church, but we were doing a merge with another church to become Waypoint, and I was the cocky construction guy, and I'm like, all right, you're going to do the fence my way, and we're going to come alongside Katie Responds. And I was like, who is Katie Responds? This is early 2019, and I was floored. I heard that day that there were probably 2,000 families in our community that needed support. And we went to a house. All we were doing was a fence, and it seemed like a silly thing to have me get just completely overwhelmed by. But God touched my heart that day, and I was like, I can't go on another day knowing that there's 2,000 people out there that need, and a lot of single moms, a lot of widows, a lot of vets, folks that need our help, people that are marginalized. And I was like, I can't do it. So I went home and I talked to Jody, and we literally cried, and knee to knee we prayed and just said, all right, we're going to give half of our time to this ministry. And so I became their construction guy. Katie Responds. And slowly but surely, I just could not walk away from it. Every night I'd bring home these families, and it just drive me crazy. The boys that lost their parents are trying to recover from the storm that you saw at Lakewood. And it's just so many single moms that the very first one I did, Trisha, was 5 kids. She had 5 kids. like a 4-month-old when Noah was born when the storm hit. So it was she's a rock star in my book. She works at HEB and she's got all these kids now. She got grandkids, but she was living in a flood-ridden home, no walls, no mold everywhere, and she had no financial ability, the decent home, but no ability to fix it. A lot of a lot of marriages broke up during that period of time, which is really sad. But I digress. Any rate, so we've slowly but surely worked our way into being, or I worked my way into being executive director because nobody else would do it.
But I want you to stop right there for a minute, because one thing he's not mentioning to you guys is that he dedicated 20 hours a week that he would give to Katie Responds to go out and help families and to try to rebuild their homes and make their homes livable for free. Like, here's someone who's going to give up half of his time to go and help for free. But that wasn't enough, Ron, was it?
No, and that was the problem. I couldn't sleep at night thinking about these folks. It was great that we were able to do it. It made things tight financially, but God seems to always present when you make the right decision. So we had some folks that helped us become to do that. And by God's grace, literally, we were praying about it, and we had somebody show up at the house and say, you know what, we'd like to help you so you don't cost Katie Responds any money, so you can go full time there. And I'm like, are you serious? You just want to come and make sure we can live? And they did. And they did. They made it so that we could come on to Katie Responds full time. I left my construction world, which was called Three Strands Renovation. And we left that behind and we started doing full-time Katie Response. So yeah, it was amazing what God did to allow us to do it, because we weren't in a financial position to retire. I mean, I'm not that old yet. I'm pretty old, but
No, you're not.
um, but at any rate, so that's how we got going. And then the executive director left and went on mission, and the board decided to make me the executive
Okay.
director.
Now, you guys that are paying attention to this, when you think of like nonprofits and churches getting together and going out and helping, Ron, how many people do you have on a given day that are actually helping rebuild these houses?
We have our staff typically. There's the staff of huge, 5.
Yeah, that's it.
But we will recruit. We have some contractors that we work with, and pretty regularly, because there's certain types of work, like the stuff I did for free. Can't expect every contractor to do for free.
Sure.
So we have some contractors that give us kind of a discounted rate. We'll put them to work on some of the harder aspects of our projects. But on a weekend we've had 100 volunteers. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had churches left the building for one of our local churches, and we had nearly 100 folks out on our sites. But for the core of our rebuild during the week, we'll probably have 4 or 5 good volunteers work through the week.
Which is nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Really.
Ron, I want you to explain, because when people think, like, unless they've heard it from you or from somebody, they really don't understand the depth of the work that you're doing. So Harvey was in 2017, for you guys that aren't remembering that, because we remember it very well here. And then we had that freeze storm that hit, and that was like a year and a half ago. So he's dealing with people, or the Katie Response is dealing with people that had Harvey damage or from the freeze. Ron, describe some of these homes that you have repaired and rebuilt and what you're working on.
Well, actually, one that we just finished, we love how God's hand touched it. That we didn't know. Her name's Judy. We actually posted her story on our website. We try and do that with the finished projects. We're now starting to do it with some of our in-process projects, because meeting our families is what allows you to go, hey, we want to help there.
Yeah.
And so we haven't been doing that. We've been doing finished projects. But one of Judy Bluestein, wonderful Jewish lady. I showed up, and she had been, if you look at her story, she'd been all over. FEMA had moved her 10 different times. Through those moves, she'd lost her husband and her dogs, which were just devastating to her. But she ends up moving back into the house and lived in the house. No heat, no air, open walls, no heat, no air, barely water, no hot water. but for 2 years. And when I showed up at her house, we learned of her. We showed up at her house in Bear Creek. Neighbors didn't know, thought everything was fine. That's the killer here. But she walked in. She was just so happy to see us. She had this big smile, offered us cookies. I'm like, where did you get? How could you make cookies? She had
Right.
a makeshift oven. Anyway, literally no walls, very little sheetrock on the ceiling, no insulation. This woman was living in a tent, but it
Yeah.
was a home. And so we've had experiences like that, and it took us a while to finish her because it's a lot of work. You
I
have to
bet.
go backwards before you go forward. We also have, like you said, Uri, the winter storm, that put a whole bunch of people on our radar. We have one that you and I've spoken about recently, which is the single mom, two kids and a dad trying to navigate. They left their house during the winter storm because it didn't have they didn't have electricity. Pipes burst and just destroyed the home. And they got back the next week and it was still running. It was still wet.
Wow.
She could not be back in the house. She could not even go in to shut the main water valve off. She had to have somebody do it at the street. She lost literally everything that they didn't pack up. Everything had to go in a dumpster bin. And we're still working on that project. But I mean, that's right over by Katie Mills Mall. These
Yeah.
are our neighbors. These are the folks that she's not going to walk down the street and go, I need help. Give me
No.
$1. She's just fighting, just keeping her job, trying to keep her bills paid and keep her home that would be unrepairable for her. So those are the folks that people, we drive by them, we walk by them, we're in the store with them. And they're just the silent, marginalized group.
Yeah.
And that's who Katie Responds has been focused on trying to develop a relationship with, let them know that we're here to help. And then we go out and we ask folks like you to help us do that.
And y'all, he didn't ask either. The only reason, and this again is like God at work here. When I saw them on the screen at Lakewood, I was like, holy crap, I didn't know. And then I paid attention to what they're talking about. I'm like, how did I not know about this? And so I'm texting Jody. I'm like, I want to be involved. So the story that they were sharing at Lakewood was a tearjerker. Can you talk to us about that story? Because you also got very touched by that story.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. I will not cry on this podcast. This is that podcast that makes you cry. So yeah, we had experience where I had a good friend of Katie Response, Kevin Duty, and his bride Michelle. They actually the people who introduced Katie Response to me, but they called me one day and said, "Hey Ron, we've heard of this young man named Jalen. He's lost both of his folks, and he's charged with taking care of his little brother. His mom left him in charge of his little 12-year-old brother."
And how old was he, Jalen?
Jalen was 22. He's 23 now.
Okay.
And so I said, well, sure, yeah. I mean, what was the deal with them? And they said, well, his house was hit by Uri, and I think there was some contractor fraud, which unfortunately, Tricia, that was such a big deal. It's still so many people got robbed by contractors walking away with deposits. But at any rate, I said, you know what? I got a free morning. Let me come over there. We'll go visit. It's literally right in downtown Katy, which is where we are officed. And we went and visited and met this young man. He said, yeah, I quit college. I have to be home to make sure I'm here for my brother Julian. He's my charge. My mom asked me to watch over him, and I need to. And I was so moved by that when I saw his house. Again, that particular stories hit national attention with the CBS and NBCs, and actually they're going out to be on the Kelly Clarkson show in a couple weeks, which is pretty crazy. But they may drag me along with them.
You should go.
Anyway, I think what compelled me was the fact that he was just such an upscale, just a stand-up guy. Just I'm gonna give up this part of my life until Julian, his little brother, was able to kind of tend to himself. And I just so appreciate The what it takes is a young man with the character that mother had to have to give and instill that into him. I didn't want I didn't want him to stress about the house. I felt like it's perfect for our funders. Our funders love the exposure. He was Uri winter storm for sure. Contractor fraud, which is, we tell our funders a lot that we're supporting this, but we'll bring them back from the contractor fraud.
What
Uh,
condition was their house in, Ron?
uh, Again, probably 60% of the walls were sheetrocked. The rest was all open. There was no bathroom. They were just torn up. They were gutted. The contractor had removed the complete AC system, taken everything out, and left him with a couple of window units. And literally had gutted half gutted the kitchen because of the plumbing, and that's how I found it. I literally was stepping over sheetrock and cabinets, and when I walked in the house, so it there was no way they were not living in it, Trisha. They were living in a grandmother's house. So yeah, it was terrible. And we initially did an assessment just to get them back in. We get a bathroom in, get the place cleaned up, and as we went, we had a volunteer group in there, and they just said, no, we've got to take this. We got to go further. We have to, which is how Katie Response typically does it. We will spend more money than we should sometimes getting people back into a complete home. We don't want them to have to think about the damage from this or that when they're walking home, when they get home from their hard jobs at wherever it is.
Yeah.
They're working hard. And so anyway, we were able to through Lakewood, which was great. Lakewood didn't fund the project, but they through their connection, they had a bunch of furniture that we were able to. We never would furnish things before, and Lakewood was spectacular in getting that whole home furnished. We had some gifts of some appliances, and so they basically got into the house and are able to live and go. As young men trying to make it. I mean, Jalen works at Katie Vehicle Inspection right in town. For Diana, they've taken good care of him, but he's working a job. He's not in college, and he needs to be. He needs to figure that out. So anyway.
But every day you're dealing with people like this. And so you guys, another family that he has not mentioned about too, is a single mom, another single mom. It's like, this is just crazy how that was like what I was seeking, was to be able to help them. Because I know what a single mom is like. I've been that single mom life and raising 3 kids. And I do have a special needs child who is 21 right now. And so I know what it's like to deal with things like that. I don't know what it's like to deal with an unlivable home, but I know the single mom thing, and it's a hard gig. Ron, talk to us about the 71-year-old lady that just really touched my soul.
Oh my gosh, Jackson. I haven't spent a lot of time around her because I want my team to. I have some great folks that work with us, and every meeting I'm in, Miss Jackson did this, Miss Jackson did that, Miss Jackson did this, and she handles her boys. She has 2. She's 71, and she has 2 special needs sons that are in their 40s. And they're just slow developing. They won't develop beyond the developmental level of the maybe early teens.
Yep.
And yeah, I know that touched your heart. It's one of the many that we get involved in. But she's just out there. She's out there helping. She's swinging the axe. We've got a couple of videos on our website of her. And the boys just step up and they work with us too. But she did the same thing. She was just exposed by the winter storm. It destroyed a good portion of her home, and she was literally living with a hose in her kitchen window. That's how she was getting water. And to be honest with you, when I heard that, I was like, well, surely that was temporary, right? That wasn't how she was. The day we did the assessment, that wasn't how it was. And yes, that's how it was. And so we got we hired a plumber right away and got him in there, and before we even got funded for anything on that project, because we couldn't
You can't do that.
we couldn't leave it.
No.
And but yeah, she's on our website too. We've got some stories with her and her kids, but but we'll be working on her project. Actually, your team is coming out a week from, or this coming Monday. And that's one of the things that we want to be able to do, is get the community involved, so that y'all can be a part of our mission field. We need volunteers. We can't do this work. We have to do it with volunteers, because we don't have the funds to go do a full-on contractor-esque type work. We need the community to come in and at least paint for us, at least do the outside, do
Right.
the fences and that type of stuff. And it takes folks in groups like yours, Tricia, to y'all jumping in and saying, this is 2 weeks ago we've met, and we've already have a calendar date set, and we're going to be taking you out to Miss Jackson's home, and you're gonna paint. It's going to be tight. You'll be bumping into people. You probably get paint all over everything.
Okay.
But that's we're on the painting side of that project, and to be honest with you, my team kind of went around me, and there was a family of 3 living in one bathroom, one toilet, and they were not happy about that. So they kind of snuck and agreed to give her to build out another half bath. So
Which is super awesome.
It is. That's what I love about the group that I get to work with. They'll like, you'll figure it out, Peters. You just keep raise money for us, and we'll spend it all right. So,
when I think about today, it's freezing outside, like it was, I think 39 or something degrees this morning. Think about these families that Ron's talked to y'all about out there. Y'all need to pay attention to this, because they don't have like a hose through the window. That's not hot water, that's cold water. And for a 71-year-old lady, that's how she's surviving. That's not acceptable. And then to have 40-year-olds that she's raising. I have a special needs son, like I said, who's 21. He doesn't understand, like, if we don't have hot water, number one, he would be crying like crazy if I had to give him a cold shower, because I still have to bathe my son, as I'm sure she has to help with them. And so they don't understand that stuff. It hurts. It just hurts. And as a mom, it hurts even worse if you can't provide that, because it's out of your reach. And according to Ron, this lady was out volunteering and never told anybody that her horrible living conditions that she was in. It's a pride thing. People don't want to ask for help. People don't want you to know how bad things are at their home. And we as a society need to look for those signs and really check in with people, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? That we shouldn't be allowing this to go on. There's too many people making too much money and having the time of their life, and just turning their back to people that need help. And that is why we're doing this. Ron, and I want to tell you guys something else, and I'm going to get on a rant too. Ron, when he was on the video at Lakewood, after the video, because it got all this publicity, of course, because that's how we found out. We're like, what? Then there's other people like us that want to get involved. Ron, how many families have now reached out to you, additional families that need help, and like, hey, what about us?
Yeah, when that story hit, I really thought, because I'm the chief fundraiser here, which obviously I do a crappy job. If I never asked you for money, I made you just suggest it. So I do like telling the story, and I want people's hearts to feel led to do it, as opposed to being that we need your money. So, but we do. But that day, I'm thinking, wow, this is going to make my job a whole lot easier, with Pastor Joel up there going, Katie responds, we love what you're doing. Yeah, I got a little over 80 to 100 emails that said, hey, we still have Harvey damage. We still have winter storm damage. Can you help us? So Tricia, I told you I was overwhelmed to the point where I thought I'd quit, because I don't know how I'm going to touch. I don't want to leave them hanging.
Mm-mm.
Theoretically, that's probably $2 million worth of construction. If I take averages, some will be less, some will be more. But it really broke my heart.
I bet.
It's like, I don't know. I've done 106. We've done 160 in 5 years, and God placed potentially 80 to 100 families on our plate. I I'm still worried about it, but I feel like, you know what, I just like with you, having you text that day at Lakewood. I knew it was funny. Jody looked at her phone during the service, and I was like, what do you never look at your phone? Why are
Right.
you looking at your phone? She leaned over, she said, Trisha Turner just texted me. And so we were like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I think the thing is, we have to let God do this, right? And I have to trust him.
You do.
And I did have hair before I started, but I do. And just walking with you, just from meeting you to the property purchase and all of that, and now this, and it's like, how did God's hand not do this, right? So if I believe that he can do all of that, why can't I believe that he can get us the $2 million that we need? Because what we don't want to do is take those 80 and then go, you have to wait 3 years. We need to build our arsenal of staff right now and get after them.
Yep.
I did get approval from my board this past week that we can at least begin the assessment process.
Good.
That we still don't know where the dollars are going to come from, but they're faithful, like I am, and they believe in our mission, and they know that the God will give us the exposure that we need. The Kelly Clarkson show will be great.
Oh gosh.
National exposure, but we really like this. I love your footprint, Trisha. You're such a champion of our community, and I love we have a great community. We've been able to do the work we do because of the people that were around, our volunteers, and the churches and those folks. But to see you guys, I love your heart for your community, the way you invest in small business and in your business and your folks, your people. I love it, and I'm excited to be partnering with you on this. This is really a great chance for people to see Katie Responds and be a part of it.
Y'all, you guys that are listening to this, first of all, hopefully you'll get to meet Ron and Jody because they're amazing people. But when you sit and listen to them, because I've talked to other nonprofit people, and I'm not saying anything about nonprofits at all, but I have met with other nonprofits before, and it's their job, and I get that, and it's a job. You talk to Ron, and it's not a job at all. That word never even comes up. It's a purpose. It's that saying, once I see it, I can't unsee it. He sees these families and these homes, and they're not livable, and he can't sleep. This isn't right. It doesn't sit well with him. He's on a mission, and he's given up so much to change the world, and he believes that he can, and he is making a difference. And I believe that everyone has a purpose, and sometimes we don't really know it, and sometimes we don't want the purpose. But if you ask and you keep getting that same answer, that's him. And I believe, Ron, that this is your purpose, and your property here that we are now on was just the vessel in which to align us together, because we are better together. And I can help you and promote and get you in front of people just like you can too, because those 80 to 100 people that need help from Harvey, that's super sad. And you do need to take this on, because we're just going to keep bringing awareness that you need help. We need funding. We need everything to help you guys. But that's not going to be the end. I mean, there will be other storms. There will be other pipes breaking. There will be other disasters, unfortunately. So it doesn't stop. Don't think that there's only 80 or 100 more. It's not stopping. This is a purpose for you. So you guys pay attention to this.
Absolutely true, Trisha, and you bring up a good point. I've not done a good job. We talked about Harvey and Uri. We've also helped out on what we call the personal disaster atmosphere. So there are plenty of folks that are just especially in the single mom. I was raised by a single mom, so I was the man of the house
Oh yeah.
supposedly. And the reality is that the way houses degrade through using them, a lot of these people can't afford to do updating, and to keep them up, they have to choose between a new door and putting food on the table. They're
Yeah.
going to produce food. So we've taken on a couple of projects that were just strictly personal disasters, what we call it. And that's been a blessing too. We just see young moms, get back into a house, but the stuff works. And so we've done that too. It's unfortunate that we've been overwhelmed with the storm damage. So,
But you bring hope to people that maybe don't see hope and don't believe there's a way, because there's a solution for every problem, but sometimes it's just the right people or the right things getting in your life. But people lose hope. It's a dark world, and you guys are bringing that hope. And I'm just honored that you're even part of our lives. And I can't wait to see how this impacts, because we've only just begun.
that's right. That's so true.
And you guys, so if you're unfamiliar with our area, Katy is just another suburb of Houston, basically. And so when he says Katy ISD, of course, is the school district. How many homes or neighborhoods or communities do you think that encompasses, Ron?
Oh, I honestly, I can't tell you. It's grown, and I honestly, you would probably be a better judge of that than I would. I know that it's a significant square mile
Very much so.
footprint. In fact, it's behind me on the wall right there. If you can see
The map, yeah, we've seen it.
the big square right there is Katy ISD. So it's a big section of Houston.
But y'all, this is a purpose. He's out there making a difference. Somebody's got to do it. Like, what if he saw all this disaster and then turned his back on it and was able to actually go to sleep at night and not worry about people that don't have running water or no AC or no heat and it's 30 degrees outside? Like, he's a saint, in my opinion, and his wife is the same. They are just out there trying to make a difference in this world. And I want y'all viewers, like, if you're far away and you can't get here to help, then send money. If you can help, then you need to get in touch with Ron. And especially if you real estate teams, y'all can band together instead of doing your sales meeting or going to these dumb broker open houses. Don't do anything for selling a house. Why don't you go and help people that really need help? Because that's what matters and that's what makes a difference. Hey, Ron, how can people locate you guys to learn more?
Best place to go is on our website. There's katyresponds.org. You can get kind of a picture of some of those videos I was telling you about, learn a little bit about the families that are out there. And there's also a link to volunteer. There's a link to donate. And so both of those will bring information to me. We don't push the donate button all the time, but it's out there. It's for you, for those folks that are interested and you like our mission, you like what we're doing. We really would love to have you participate. But do the volunteer one. If you've got some questions, that will make it to me. Of course, my email is ron@katyresponds.org. Really clandestine. I made that hidden so nobody would find me. But by all means, anybody's got a question, there's a phone number on our website. I could give it out, but it's on the website as well. Call in. We're all remote. We all work in the field. We don't have like an office staff that stays here all the time, but we will get the message and we will respond. Especially if people need help.
For you guys out there that are looking for something to get involved in, maybe you don't have the money to help financially, but time, like a skill set, because anybody can paint. I mean, I'm not a painter, but I'll make it look all right. It'll be fine. But there's other people that have skill sets, electricians and carpenters and plumbing and roofers. And you guys, if we come together, we can make a difference in the world. There's no reason for people to be living in conditions like that. They're paying their mortgage. They're going to work. They're taking care of their kids. These are good people. These aren't trashy people. These are people that have just come on hard times, and we need to come together to help them and to help Katy Responds help them.
Yep. And we do, just so you know, we qualify our clients. We do some reconnaissance on the home ownership. It's not renters that we work with, sadly. we're working on things to do for that, but we don't have that we would not use dollars for a rental home. But for the most part, we qualify people that they are in need, and we do that up front so that we're not, for folks that may not be in need, and it's a choice to live that way. That's not who we're working with. We're working
Yeah.
with those that really do need this work. So I just
I
wanted
love
to.
it. Yeah, you guys are amazing, Ron. You and Jody are just, again, saints, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing to change the world. And I'm super happy that you're in my life. You guys remember, it's katieresponds.org, KATY.org, katieresponds.org. Make sure and go there, learn more, share the news. I'm going to have it all over social media, of course. I'm going to have clips of stuff that they've already done. I'm going to share the website. So you guys make sure and share it out. Let's come together on this one and help them out. Ron,
Yes.
any final thoughts?
I just am so grateful for you, Trisha. I still can't believe how God has orchestrated us getting together, and this is a real blessing just to hang out with you, and just to get the exposure for Katie Responds. I agree with you. My wife is a saint. I don't know that I am, but I'm working my way there. But I do. I think God calls us to this, and God's called you to this platform, and that's what we got to do. Just walk with it, and just say, "All right, so this is what I'm. This is my lot. This is what
Yep.
I do," and God will bless us by it.
You got that right. Thank you so much for doing this today, Ron.
Thank you, Tricia. I appreciate you, dear.
You guys have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.